Hi there! Today for Sketchbook Sunday we are going to work with gouache. Gouache is a great medium for a sketchbook because you don't have to use a lot of water with it, it dries quickly, and you can mimic watercolor, you can mimic oil painting or acrylic painting, so you can it really adapts to whatever style of painting you like to work with. I'm starting off with a white watercolor pencil and sketching in this Beret girl, and just getting her face and beret and neck in there, and then I'm just kind of putting some gouache onto my palette. These are the Hemi gouache, and I have let them dry out in their little jelly cups because I prefer to work from my gouache dry because I can put the amount of water I want in there and use a thicker paint if I wish, or less watery paint. I'll have the real-time version of this up in Critique Club. I'll have a link to that in the video description if you're interested in checking that out, and if you're already a member of Critique Club, you should find it in the December bonus lesson area. I'm blocking in some of the shadows. I'm using a combination of yellow ochre, burnt sienna, white, a little bit of magenta just to kind of pink up the complexion a little bit, and I'm just mapping out the features of the face. Now the nice thing about gouache is that you can layer it, you can also blend back into layers if you want to smooth something out, so you don't have to start off with as detailed of a sketch as you would if you are working in something like watercolor or markers or colored pencil, where it's not as forgiving. You can't really alter it. Gouache is so forgivable because not only can you keep layering up in the medium of gouache, but you could go over with acrylic paint pen, you could go over with colored pencil, you can go over with pastel. It's it's got a nice toothy surface that will accept all sorts of other things. Now I'm also blocking in the background, which is kind of just a mottled kind of foresty, like vegetation background, because I wanted to get a good feeling of all my values and where everything was going to be placed. I'm just shaping the edge of the face a little bit because I feel like I hit it a little bit off from my original watercolor pencil sketch, and I'm just starting to go in and paint things like eyebrows and get the edge of the nose and you know, just a few details like that. Since I didn't put a lot of details in at the beginning, I'm just kind of using everything as a guidepost. So by starting at the eyebrows, I can see where the eyes are going to go, and then I can, you know, map out the nose and the mouth and what have you. So you can divide it up however it makes sense to you. If you want to go back in with a watercolor pencil and draw things out, that's totally fine. That'll dissolve and turn into your gouache. Watercolor pencils are great for doing drawing where you want to be able to kind of smudge it out before you're done in a water-based media, and that includes gouache, acrylics, watercolors, anything like that. I'm going ahead and putting highlights and shadows as I come across them because this painting is done very directly. It's a very quick portrait. It's a very loose portrait. So I'm more concerned with getting things placed accurately and correctly rather than detailing and having a refined piece when I'm done. Definitely more of an expressive technique or an impressionistic technique, but it's what I was in the mood for. This is when I'm filming this, it's a week before Christmas, actually a little less than a week. You know, I've kind of got that little bit of a, you know, kind of not panic, panic's the wrong word, kind of just that like, so much to do, so little time, I need an art break. Kind of feeling. So to be able to do a loose expressive portrait like this, it's really nice. And it's a nice contrast from the portrait that I did in Critique Club and Sketchbook Sunday a couple weeks ago, the portrait of June from A Handmaid's Tale, which was so detailed and took, you know, over 2 hours. So this is nice. This one took about 45 minutes, a little less actually, and it was just a joy. It was fun. I enjoyed the whole thing. It was a lot of fun. So with the beret, I'm trying to get the shadows and highlights in there. I did have to rework this a couple times because I kept losing the form of the hat because there's some pretty distinct not gathers, but just like bends in the fabric, and it looks so simple, and then you kind of go to fuss with it too much and then you lose it, and then so there's a lot of back and forth on the beret, which was kind of weird. I didn't expect I would spend much time with that, and it's one of those situations where if you just put those couple strokes of paint in right the first time, it just saves you so much work, but you could totally get down in the weeds and muck about with it if you're not careful. I did decide to go ahead and use that straight black gouache for the hair. I did, I'm going to use that in other parts of the portrait too. Like when I'm going to use it in like the eyebrows or the eyes, I'm going to mix a little bit of burnt sienna in with it so it's not too dark. The hair is also in shadow, so it would be a little bit darker. That would be my darkest value of the painting. But I like to, anytime I introduce a new color, I try to find other places in the portrait that it will work as well so that I don't end up having something that sticks out like a sore thumb. And I really enjoyed this paint. I haven't used this in quite a while. When you get it, it's going to come in these little like jelly cups, and the paint is liquid, not liquid up. It's paint. It's like, it's like tube paint. It's wet. And I let mine dry out a bit with a cover off so I could use it. So I could just add the amount of water I want into it. I noticed with like kind of less expensive gouache sets, this is under 20 bucks, this set here on Amazon. With less expensive gouache sets, I find that if I let it dry out and I add water to it, they behave like much more expensive paint. But a lot of people want to use it wet. That's fine. Just cap it up. Just put the lid on and see. It's got an airtight lid. So if you want to keep that paint wet, you totally can do that. It's totally your preference, and I just prefer it dry. You can see it cracks a little bit, but it hasn't fallen out. This is a really wonderful palette that it comes in, so definitely I recommend saving that palette and refilling it with other gouache or watercolors when you're done, because it is such a fantastic palette. I think it's like $17 or $18. I think that price would be good for just the palette. So what drew me to this reference photo that I'm using is this, I love this girl's outfit and her jewelry. She has these like pom-pom earrings, which I think are just so fun and playful, and I love the clear frame glasses and the beret and the colors of her shirt. It was very springtime looking, and it just looks so carefree and lighthearted. And I've had that photo saved in my one of my Unsplash collections for the longest time, and I was like, it just seemed like something I wanted to paint in an expressive, light, easygoing manner, because I felt like the photo was so light and carefree and fresh, and that's kind of the feeling that I wanted to evoke. That's the feeling I wanted to feel, and I think that when you're creating art, you should definitely go to what speaks to you, or choose something that feels the way you want to feel. That might be like painting Christmas paintings in December. It might be painting tropical sunsets when you're ready to go on vacation, or when you feel like you need a vacation and there may not be one in the budget or in the future, but you could paint a tropical sunset and kind of pretend for a little bit that you're, sitting on that beach. So, just try to inspire yourself that way if you're feeling like you're in a bit of a creative slump and you don't know what to paint. I'm going in with a small brush here and just white, and I am putting highlights in the eyes, the glasses, and putting this cross-hatching in the beret to give the texture of the fabric, which I think was really all that needed. And I think it really added quite a bit, even though it was a simple little accent to put on the end. I always like to put my bright white highlights at the end, because I feel like it just shines everything up and makes everything look finished and nice. And just pop in any definite details that you want. Don't overdo it. Keep it light and bright, and have fun with it. I did reshape the edge of the face a little bit because I got it kind of big, and I did that with a small brush just so I didn't get, overdo it. Yeah, that's pretty much how I finished it off. I'm taking off the tape so I could see the little border there, and I'm really pleased with the way it turned out. It's very loose and easy, but it was just what I was in the mood to paint today. I hope you paint something that you're in the mood for today, and I hope you find the joy in your artwork, and I hope it is a fun, calming experience for you. You can check out this tutorial and critique club. I'll put a link down below along with all the supplies I used. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy creating.